Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings, 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria, or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sambujang, and Deputy Permanent Secretary, the advisor, media officer, and the staff of the ministry, the media fraternity. Good morning to you all. And I would want to start by thanking you profoundly for the interest that you have in giving you such a short notice to answer to our call for us to share with you what is of concern to all of us as citizens of this country. I don't have a formal statement written, but I just want to inform you that this press conference is prompted by the media information that we have confiscated 22 containers of processed wood at the buffer zone, and also some of the efforts at the border communities that have also led to arrest and confiscation of over 400 logs. This is what prompted this press conference. We believe that this ministry, we need to share information with the general public, and you are the mouthpiece to get that information to the public. As a result, we decided that we should call for this press conference. And some of you may remember, last week on Wednesday, I appeared, and my team, we appeared before the National Assembly Select Committee on Environment to clarify some of the issues surrounding this arrest of this wood at buffer zone, as well as the ones that are now being piled up at Fatou farms. it is important that we set the context. As a government, as a responsible and responsive government, we cannot shun our responsibility. As a result, the problems that we are encountering, particularly in the environment sector, most of the problems are inherited problems. And we found this on the ground, and we have to come up with innovative ways of how do we gradually phase this out. And it's that gradual process of phasing the process of obtaining wood from foreign countries into the country that we have adopted over the years. As a result, in 2017, when we newly came into government, we found some logs that were stranded in the country, and we give a window of opportunity to these vendors because they have invested heavily in this venture, and as a result, they were given the opportunity. Just for us to set the context, they were given opportunity, and they were able to sold what they have, sell what they have, and in 2019, some of them complained seriously that some of these logs are not completed, and we gave opportunity. From henceforth, there was a complete moratorium on the movement and exportation of logs out of this country. But you know, this is a complex setup. You still have unscrupulous businessmen and some unscrupulous officers who would definitely connive with these people to get this thing into the ports. This particular incident, before coming to the buffer zone incident, we were tipped, we get intelligence that some containers were already into the ports. And together with the Gambia Police Force and with the intelligence, we were able to trace all these containers, and they were taken out of the ports. And right now, the culprit is going to court, and the judgment for that is set for the 19th of this month. The containers are parked at Sukuta. We were okay. We said, okay, now that we know the tactics that they use, we see how best to get them even before going into the ports. And a month later, this other incident also happened at buffer zone when it was not even moved. And some of them, the tactics they use, they wait until late at night. The information we got at 3 a.m. To transport this from their location to what they called their depots, and from there they move it to the ports. But and some of them we now understand would use false declaration. Instead of saying this is wood, they would say this is groundnut, this is cashew, but that should not be an excuse, because as an officer responsible, before you could certify anything, then you need to verify it inside. So this measure is now being reinforced, and this is why all these things are coming to light. And sometime at about 23rd of last month, on Friday, we got this intelligence, and the Gambia Police Force CMC, the Crime Management Coordinator, together with our RFO, that is the regional forest officer in Brikama, made a visit to this particular site, and they found 22 containers at the buffer zone. And then I was informed. I spoke to both the IGP and the CMC, and also the Director of Forestry, and immediately I ordered them for a preliminary investigation to look into this matter as to who owns and what is the number, what is in the container, and what are the container numbers, because this goes to show a lot about the characteristics of the transaction. So they found 22 containers on site, and 5 of them were empty, and the 16th of the containers were stuffed with processed wood, and 1 was stuffed with round logs. And as a result, the RFO, together with his director, generated a report which was forwarded to us, and some recommendations were made in the report, and I immediately endorsed the recommendation that the suspect should be immediately arraigned before the court of law, because this is a democracy. We have to observe the rule of law in the country, and whatever the outcome of the court, we must also be ready to respect that as a democratic country. So with regards to that, the person was arraigned to appear. I think it should be today, but we were told that it's now moved to tomorrow to appear before the court. So far, this is where we are, and we are working with the Gambia Police Force to ensure that we look into all the tactics that they are using to beat our system, to get these things to do it on their own way. In addition, as I said, we have also strengthened surveillance over our borders, particularly in the northern part of the country, where most of these things are coming from to be transported across our border. Fortunately, for the police commissioner in URR, were able to make arrest of certain logs at the landing site, which I have already given instruction for them to be immediately transported and be deposited at the Fatou farms, where we will put all these illegal things together so that in accordance with the Forest Act, we will use some of the options in the disposal of such materials. And so far, they have transported over 450 logs that are already deposited at the Fatou farms. So we believe this is worth for the public to know that these are some of the things that we are doing. And prior to this, we have made several efforts together with our counterparts in Senegal. Personally, I extended an invitation to my colleague, Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development of the Republic of Senegal at the end of 2019. And we have made some agreements that not agreements per se, but to have a work program that would be, shared by the two countries and the two forest officers and the security officers. And one very important thing that that was highlighted in that was for the two countries to have joint patrol teams of both securities. And we had done this in 2018. I think this paid a lot of dividend. In one day, I think, if my memory serves me, DPS, they were able to make 20 arrests of horse carts and donkey carts across the other side of the border in Senegal. So we have seen that this requires a bilateral effort. Not only one country can solve this. Therefore, we have to come together as two sisterly countries to ensure that we put in mechanisms that will help us to curb this environmental catastrophe. Why Gambia is so much interested in this is because Gambia and Senegal share the same climatic zone. And anything that happens in Senegal can easily and obviously affect the rainfall pattern, and it can also have some negative consequences on our environment. So it is important that we put our efforts together, because all of you would remember in 2019-2020 crop season, both countries experienced serious droughts. And in the Gambia, when we have conducted, together with the Ministry of Agriculture, a pre-harvest studies, it was indicated that over 350,000 farmers who were affected by the dry spell of over 25 days. So these are signals that the hydrological cycle of this region is tampered with, and the only thing to remedy is to come up with some restoration programs that will help restore some of the tree species that we have lost. And the two countries also agreed on sensitization of border communities, and to the extent that we would want to come with, we have already developed a project concept on the, domestic fuel consumption along the borders of the two countries. And now the two countries have now agreed to include the third country, which is Guinea-Bissau, and I would come to the conclusion of that when we recently visited Senegal with a high-powered delegation. But prior to all this, my ministry, together with the partners like the Gambia Police Force, we have put in tremendous resources in terms of curbing these menace, but we have seen that we cannot do it alone. If I remember, at some point when I went on trek that day, I couldn't take my lunch because of the number of trees that I have seen on the ground, and we have almost $2,095,000 is spent on ensuring that those logs are guarded and there are no additional stock. But all that we have seen that have not proven to be very, very effective because a lot of people would not understand why they are asked not to cut down the tree. But when we come up with these measures to gradually phase it down, in 2019, I ordered for them to do a reassessment of all the landing sites and throughout the northern part of the country where they are coming from. And we have realized a significant reduction in the dumping of wood because of the arrests that have been previously made. And if I remember very well, the last stock that was assessed was over 100,000 logs. And when I asked them to do again in end of 2019, we have realized that the entire country, the entire northern border, we had almost 1,175 logs, which is a significant reduction of over 200,000 logs that is being transported. So that also shows that our policy of gradually phasing out and we are at the terminal phase. We are now at the terminal phase of the strategy that we would want to ensure that at the final phase, there is zero tolerance for any movement of logs across the border and as well as inside the country. As a result of that, we all know the kind of tree species that they are dealing in, which is Tercarpus ernaceus, that is the rosewood, Keno, which is under international protection because it's an internationally endangered tree species, and is under the CITES Convention, is under international protection. As a result, in 2018, before the coming into being of the current Forest Act, I have relied on Section 88G of the previous act to put a moratorium on the cutting of the tree species, as well as the manner in which licenses are issued or permits are issued to vendors to cut trees. So there is a complete moratorium on the cutting of the Pterocarpus ernaceus. And as a result, anybody who is found in transporting either from outside or cut from inside of this country is an offense under the Forest Act. So therefore, it is a clear warning to everybody that Kano is no longer permissible to be caught in this country. And in addition, in 2020 June, when I went on trek together with my team, I have observed with deep concern at the rate at which they were cutting Cordelia africana, which is a bush mango, Mandinkulka Duta Kubo, and Wolof, I think they call it Dimba. We are concerned at the rate at which people are cutting at this without proper permits. And anybody now that I have also, under the powers given to me by the Forest Act, we have also added this on the list of prohibited tree species that cannot be cut in this country. So this is something that we would want all of us to be vigilant, and in our communities, because most of the communities is where they do a lot of manipulation. And one of the issues that I have highlighted at the National Assembly Select Committee meeting is the issue of real estate developers. Of recent, currently, 2 communities are going to court with these real estate developers that are designated community forests, I mean, which even the Department of Forestry cannot dictate to the community so long as you have received your CFMA. That is your final certificate on community forest management. So as a result, we are putting all these measures to ensure that, and we also work with the Department of the Ministry of Local Government and Lands, because we have reached out to them. We put a press release out, and we have also reached out to them to say let them not process any document for any real estate owner who has encroached or who has, bought any community forest without, going through any due process, even the due process, because the law provides that if you have to convert a forest to another use, the proponent has to write to the minister responsible for environment to de-gazette that portion of the land or the entire forest, if permissible, to the Ministry of Justice, who will do the de-gazetting and put it in a gazette for a number of days, and also, then the land can be used for that purpose, but then the land will be given back to the Ministry of Lands for allocation, because we are not the allocating authority. The allocation authority lies in the minister responsible for lands and regional affairs. To cap it all, this year we have, under the instruction of the 2 heads of states, that is President Macky Sall and his brother, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, a delegation of 4 ministers, including the Minister of Environment, the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Interior, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We made a delegation together with our staff and also the Deputy Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, because we know we are concerned with the environment aspect, but also there are security implications in the dealing of these woods. So this is of great concern, and we have met with our counterparts in Senegal, and we have made some progress in terms of the agreements that we would pursue, and in that agreement, one which is very important is how do we put this patrol team together on the other side. And just as a kind of information to you, immediately after this meeting, all these things happen. the 450 logs arrested in Basse, and we also got information through our sources in Senegal that they were also able to arrest 350 logs inside the territory of Senegal. This, of course, involved some Senegalese, but also involves some foreign nationals, which, of course, are not Gambians, but they are all foreign nationals of other countries. So you can see how diverse this illegal trade is within our sub-region. So basically, in this meeting in Senegal, we did a very frank discussion that, yes, we will do this to ensure that anybody who escape your security, then we would also try to ensure that we do not allow this kind of thing. Because as I said, apart from the economic gain that the citizens will gain, which are short-term gains, but the long-term consequences, the long-term impact of this on our natural environment and our rainfall regime is so there that when 2 or 3 people will make few millions in their pockets, whilst the livelihoods and the lives of over how many millions put together is at stake. So this is why we are so much concerned, because we all know Senegal and the Gambia, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, we are all agricultural countries. Our economies are backed by agriculture, and as a result, this is very important for us to ensure that we put in a robust mechanism that will ensure that anybody found dealing with these kind of issues will be severely dealt with. Of course, in the Gambia, I have expressed this at the National Assembly. One of the weaknesses that we have is the law. The penalty clause of our Forest Act is so lenient, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as many people are concerned. As I said at the National Assembly, these people are dealing in millions. And if you arrest 1 truck or 2 trucks and you charge $30,000, which is the maximum penalty that the person can pay under the current Forest Act, I think that is just a pittance, and they just throw it at you and continue on what they want to do. But fortunately, I have set up a task force. I think, Piers, you are the chair of that task force to review the penalty clause of the Forest Act 2018, so that we can come up with measures to ensure that not only the product will be confiscated, but even looking at the conveyance and also looking at the putting in even custodial sentence, because I believe that a businessman do not want his time to be wasted. If a businessman is put behind bar for 6 months, I think that is a considerable time for that person. So these are some of the measures that we are coming up with. And as I said earlier, during this meeting, we have already in principle the 3 countries, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Senegal, have worked on a project that will ensure that our border communities and our country at large, we have alternatives. We have alternative energy sources for cooking, so that people will not go into the forest to cut the forest. So this project that we have already conceived and in principle agreed to by the World Bank suffered some setbacks when the leadership of the World Bank changed to review all the regional projects. But for your information, Gambia and Senegal, we have already conducted all the studies related to this, and we have held a regional workshop in Kaolack where World Bank officials were there. So the onus now lies on us, and I have taken the initiative to initiate a tripartite meeting between the Minister of Gambia, the Minister of Environment for Gambia and Senegal, and that of Guinea-Bissau, so that we can approach the World Bank with one front to ensure that this project is up and running. And basically, that is about the locks issue. But as I said, this is a general kind of thing that I would want also to shed some light and brief you on some of the achievements that this ministry has registered in terms of our mandate in protecting the environment and also safeguarding the health of the people. Because I have been saying this, and I will repeat, environment is the most important portfolio among all the portfolios. Perhaps people say I'm over-passionate about environment. It's not about being over-passionate, but that is the truth. Because before you talk about business, we must have a sustainable production and consumption, sustainable production and consumption pattern. And that cannot be done without a healthy environment. So a healthy environment promotes the health of the people, but also promote the livelihood and the economies of our different ecosystems. So the ecosystems that we preside over, their health and integrity must be kept so that they can continue to provide the environmental goods and services that they continue to provide. For instance, if we do not, you go to desert countries, you know how much they suffer because of lack of trees. So trees are so important in our lives that we must understand the role that they play in maintaining us on the surface of the earth. But many people tend to forget, they just take everything for granted. This life is not for granted. Of course, there is purpose to life, but there are also means that also facilitate that life. For instance, if we have polluted air, majority of the population will be sick. And the consequence for our national health system to contain that and the cost related to that is high. Our soil, when it's highly polluted, we cannot cultivate any food. So water quality, the same thing. So this is why I am always saying that environment is the most important portfolio. But over the years, we have been working on some of our policy goals in terms of community foresting. We have, so far, we have some forest communities that have been handed over. The last statistics, excluding the ones that we have handed over, I think we have handed over 46,000 hectares of forest cover to the communities, which we have seen that communities are very much passionate in managing their own resources and using their own local knowledge to ensure that they protect their forests. And just recently, during the President's tour, we have handed over some milling machines to some communities in Fonyi, because they're kind of a competition among communities, communities that keep their forests for so long without fire and without any major degradation. This is where we have given those communities some of those materials to entice other communities to follow what they are doing. All this is done to ensure that we keep our forest cover intact. But nonetheless, we are not saying, let me make it clear, we are not saying that we cannot use our forest resources. We have to use our forest resources, but in a more sustainable manner. Sustainable exploitation of the forest resources. Because we all knew the land cover of this country was almost 75 to 80% green pre-independence. After independence, what happened? Until the former president, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, has to come with the Banjul Declaration, expressing the concern for the flora and fauna, the way it is being depleted. So that shows that Gambia has ever been concerned with environment. And as a result, we have been part of the global community to fight all these environmental challenges that economies all over the world face, particularly least developed countries. So just to put it in context, because if you just leave me to talk, we will be here until the day ends. The achievements of this ministry over the years have been significant. in terms of developing policies, in terms of making legislations. And for the first time in the history of this country, for us to have a climate change policy. And this policy has been developed with the support of the European Union, and now the policy has been approved by the cabinet, and the policy is now being implemented, as a result of which we have, under the institutional arrangement of this policy, we have set up the Climate Secretariat, which now we have recruited a director for the Secretariat, and also we have set up National Committee for Climate Change, which are comprised of the public sector, the private sector, and the civil society, so that together we can work together to ensure that we protect our environment. So climate is one of the issues, because Gambia is one of those countries, I think some of you who might have listened to one of the videos that were released at some point, 9 cities, 9 countries that are at risk of sea level rise, and Gambia is one of those countries. So this is why Gambia, we are not relenting on climate change and climate change related issues, as a result of which we have developed in 2015 what they call the INDC, that is the Intended Nationally Determined Contribution under the Paris Agreement. And Gambia is a signatory to the Paris Agreement, whose objective is to keep the global temperature to a minimum of 1.5 degrees rise. And Gambia is among the only two countries that have been so far, out of 30 countries, assessed by the climate tracker, that Gambia is one of those countries that has responded to that call and is one of those that has the best nationally determined contribution. And as a result of that, we have got support from the United Nations Development Program and the ARENA, International Renewable Energy, to review this NDC, which is in progress as we speak, and is very advanced, that Gambia will be submitting this to the UNFCCC before the next COP in November. And this is very significant achievement for a least developed country like the Gambia. And unfortunately, we attracted a lot of attention last year when we went to COP in Madrid, in Spain, and I granted interview to a lot of international media, CGT, television, and some other television, the Bangladeshi, and all those, asking how do Gambia was able to reach this. But our understanding of our energy policy is what is helping us to achieve what we have achieved under the Paris Agreement. Because the Gambia, under the NDC, we have set for ourselves to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 44.5% in 2025 and by 45% in 2030. And we are very close, looking at the amount that we emit, which is about 0.01% into the atmosphere compared to the impact. This is why we, in Katowice, Gambia was fortunate to represent all the LDC countries, over 70 countries, in this negotiation, and I represented the entire LDC in this adaptation fund negotiation. And what we agreed before getting the Paris rule book done, we must have a concrete agreement for us to clearly define what we mean by long-term climate financing. And then America was out of the climate financing scene, and there were a lot of vacuum in the. But thank God now that the new administration in the United States is back into the climate, the Paris Agreement. That is something that we are all glad here, that the annual claim of 100 billion annually to support least developed countries and other developing countries to mitigate and adapt to the changing climate would come to fruition, inshallah. So This is what we are also racing up to, and we are also developing our NDP, our NAP, that is the National Adaptation Plan, which is also in a very advanced stage, which will also be submitted. And right now, the director of the Climate Secretariat is working hard together with the technical team to ensure that this is done on time. And we have also sent proposals to the Green Climate Fund, which is funding the EBA project. What is more interesting is that even the developed countries, most of them do not have this, what we call the long-term strategy on climate change. And Gambia, we are so advanced in the drafting of this strategy, of course, within the context of the Paris Agreement, but also within the context of our national climate change policy. And with the support of the IIED, International Institute for Environment and Development in the UK, we are, in fact, I think last week they should have done some validation, mission here to ensure that before the next COP, we have this LTS ready. And the objective of this LTS is to ensure that by 2050, which we are advocating as least developed countries, to developed countries to also raise their ambition, because this is an ambition that all least developed countries would want to see happen. Because what happens is that we are not contributing to the global warming, we are not emitting so much, but the consequence is so high on us. So this is why the stakes are so high for us to ensure that we put in mechanisms to protect our people and our environment. So we are working on that to ensure that developed countries also raise their ambition. And I was called to give a talk on climate financing and how do we align our development priorities to the Paris Agreement. And clearly, all the OECD countries that were present, I made it clear that for us to make any significant achievement under the Paris Agreement and align our national development plans to the Paris Agreement, we must understand the context of climate financing. How much of that is reaching out to the poor people whose resilience our policies and our strategies are to build. And research has shown that only 10% of the fund that is coming from those developed countries, is reaching out to the vulnerable communities. So we have to change that paradigm. We have to change that paradigm so that we get money where it matters, so that to enhance and build the resilience of the people against all forms of climate and climate-related hazards in our communities. Currently, one of the biggest achievements also, this ministry, for the first time in the history, that we are constructing our own headquarters. And for your information, these funds is all generated locally because all these arrests, all the fines that are going on with all these loggers, this is what we put together. And we have contracted a local Gambian company to construct this building. And inshallah, with the grace of God, the contract should come to end by May of this year. Inshallah, we will occupy our own new building if all goes well. So, and this, as I said, is all locally generated fund to the tune of $77 million headquarters for the ministry. And in addition, we have also constructed 8 forest stations. When we newly came in 2017, I went on track. The condition in which some of the forest officers and their staff are living was definitely deplorable. And from there, we made a decision as a management that we are going to make their stay very conducive and their environment to be conducive, but also create more space for them to do their work. As a result, we have constructed since 2017. So there are some that are still ongoing, like Kunjo is still ongoing, and Sare Fadige, Yorebawal, those are still ongoing, but I now understand that they have now certificated Sare Fodige in Sandu for their work is completed. So we have constructed 8 of those. And also, we have renovated, through the support of the ecosystem-based approach, adaptation approach project, we have renovated to standard 9 forest stations across the country as well, but also enhanced their capacities in terms of nursery, and we have created more nurseries that can have nationally to have a capacity to produce 1 million trees annually. And as a result, last year, we embarked on a tree planting exercise that we have planted more than 1 million trees, including both the terrestrial and the mangrove ecosystems. So for mangroves, we have distributed over 585,000, and for malign storms, we have almost over 400,000 distributed. These, of course, do not include some of the projects that also have distributed this to communities, and also some of the civil societies and some community leaders who would get trees from us. But as we're about to go on another track, then all the regional forest officers would have gathered all this information so that we can input this. And one of the recommendations I have seen in your, that comes out of the retreat, is to have an information management system that could set a database on all these biodiversity issues that we are talking about. And we all know that the OMVG project is also under this ministry. This is another sub-regional project where the 4 countries have agreed to share their common resources, water resources, and to make it to the best use for their various populations to benefit from it socially and economically. And as a result, we embarked on an energy project that will get energy for the Gambia from Guinea-Conakry all the way to Gambia, Bissau, and then Senegal. Right now, the infrastructural work is going on, and we have basically the Keleta Dam that is already in operation, and we are just waiting for the loop to be completed for us to access, because the Guinea government has given 5% of the energy generated from this particular facility to other member countries of OMVG. And Swapiti is also under construction in Guinea-Conakry, and all these are on River Gambia. We all know, those who understand the geography and the history of the Fouta Djallon highlands and the tributaries that runs from all the way to the River Gambia and the connection. So this is where we are. Gambia, we have 15 substations for all from Guinea-Bissau, from Guinea-Conakry right down here, and the overhead cables are also run. Now we have the cable run from Bafata to now is in Soma, and now from Soma is also going to Kaulak, and right now, as of my last information, they've just passed Brikeland, and it will now connect Gambia and Senegal together. And also, we have a line from Brikama right down to Jara Soma, and works are also very advanced. And what is more interesting in this is that wherever they are, they take labor from those particular communities. So with this OMVG on, we believe that with the Ministry of Energy access program of $66 million from the World Bank, we believe that almost 80% of the Gambia will have electricity before 2025. So this is another significant milestone. And what this does, this helps us under the NDC to reduce carbon emission, because the amount of energy that we will consume from this, if you want to produce that from fossil fuel, the amount of carbon gigatons that you will emit into the atmosphere, this helps us. So this OMVG project helps us not only to meet our national development goals, but also help us to meet our international obligations under multilateral environment agreements that we have entered into. So it's a very important project. I know some of you also may have learned that under our NAMA facility, Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Action Facility, together with the UNDP, we got approval for 10 megawatt solar. And all this, we are doing all this to ensure that we minimize and follow the energy roadmap that is set for the Gambia, that by 2030, we should have 50% of the energy that we use in this country comes from renewables, either by wind, solar, or hydro, as we have seen in the case of OMVG. So far, and also we have the schools, the EU project that is lighting and cooling over 1,000 schools, and also over 100 health facilities. So all these are efforts to mitigate the effects of climate change and adapt to the changing climate situation of our various countries. We also have recently conducted the much talked about the plastic ban order, and we have made some inroads as to the number of arrests and also prosecutions that have taken place both at Kanifing and Brikama. And right now, we have, with the support of the Gambia Police Force, we were able to make those inroads. And as such, we would want to see that plastic that falls under the ban, because not all plastics are under ban order, wrapping materials and the like, which we are seriously looking into. And we have a gentleman, a young Gambian, who is into, recycling this into, other forms of, like mats and the like. So these are significant issues that we are working on. And we, in terms of respond to community needs, as I said, we have few projects that we are also working on. The EBA, which is covering CRR, LRR, and URR. So this project is set to restore at least 7,000 hectares of our
12,300.
Yes, hectares.
CF and 3,000.
Yes. So these are some of the issues, some of the things that we're trying to address in the country to restore our forest cover, but also our agricultural land. 3,000 hectares of our agricultural land also need to be restored under this project. And so far, last year they worked with over 250 farmers that they have shown the new style of planting trees, so that the trees can have more chance of survival. And very soon we will go on verification exercise to see what amount that we have planted over the past rainy season, and how much of it survived, and how to protect them. We have also launched a new project called Seascape and Landscape project for CRR North. That is for only the Kuntaur Area Council, but also some part in the combo here. All what we're trying to do is to enhance the livelihood of the people in those communities, but also taking care of all the climatic issues that they are confronted with in terms of enhancing their livelihood. So that project is a $5.3 million project, and the EBA is a $25 million project that is still ongoing. We have other projects like the AAD, which has phased out, and the other FAO, the dryland project that is also ongoing. So we have so many efforts under the NEA. We also have the POPs, the persistent organic pollutants project, that is also being implemented. So you can see clearly that, and under the Department of Forest, Parks and Wildlife, well, this has been in the media, but I have to talk about it. and give a boost to the Kiankas that now we are trying to improve as much as possible the Kiang West National Park and to bring in some animals that is in high gear. And we have some credible partners that we are working with. And I think some of you might have heard His Excellency the President announcing this because he met with these people during his tour in Farafenni. And we have a lot of confidence that our partnership with these people will yield more fruits in the conservation of our flora and fauna species. But also, one thing we would want to reiterate is that all of us together, we can make a better environment because you, the Fourth Estate, you have a great responsibility in getting the people know what is going on and sensitize the people as to what is happening in this country. And one thing I forgot to mention, when we developed the climate change policy, it is interesting that we have translated this into, I think, three languages. We have translated this into 3 languages because we want to help the communities. When we say climate change, what do we mean? When we say resilience, what do we mean? When we say adaptation, what do we mean? When we say mitigation, what do we mean? So the communities must have a minimum understanding of what we are trying to do so that we can work together to enhance and build their capacity to be able to help us to achieve our goals and objectives. So basically, this is what I want to share with you. And if you have any clarifications or questions, we can further engage ourselves. Thank you.
First question is, I have learned that the wood exporters and the forest users, they have been writing a proposal to your ministry in regards to the ongoing ban that is happening in the Gambia, and also ways to see how they can also work with other, like how they can work with the Senegalese counterparts, like the community at community level. But still, your ministry did not respond. If you can explain, please.
This is a very important question. If you look at, perhaps if you see why we say we want to engage those communities, the communities that are concerned and those that are dealing in this, for them to come together and do a sensitization. Yes, the proposal that they are putting is for us to give them a single permit. And right now there is a moratorium on the export of this. Yes, you may say there are others who are, illegitimately engaged in it. But for us, if we do that, that means that we are contradicting what we are saying. If we should give a single permit to one umbrella body for all the others to go, we are still encouraging the business to go on. So, and as far as the 2 heads of states are concerned, right now there is zero tolerance for this kind of illegal activities going on.
Thank you very much. Chris?
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Agada.
Okay, mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyinji.
Okay. Korsan. Nsila ID soto.
Ha, sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Ah,
mbare mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Ah, jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Ha. Birin koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong labe to.
56 branches mola sota Gambia jam.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kono kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi mani domorol dir fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ma kum fa kendol sotale je.
Ha e wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e binaji.
Yalo bu kanila ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.